Miami's Community News, and I'm Michael Miller. Our guest today is Frank Calderon from the Miami-Dade Solid Waste Department. Frank, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me here, Michael.
So I used to fiddle around we have a barn in the barn, and I would wind up having all these little bottles and cans left over, all the stuff that I no longer want, and I didn't know quite what to do with them. So when people going into their garages or underneath their sinks, and it's all but empty. What should people do, like with their oil for their equipment they might have at the house, or their leftover gasoline because they're no longer doing it, or their old lawnmowers and pesticides? What should they do?
Well, first thing what they should not do is put it in their garbage, and we won't accept those items in a bulky waste pickup either. But we do have 2 centers, our home chemical collection centers, where we'll take most of those items.
So how do we get it into the really conscious mind when somebody's reaching down there and their garbage can is right there, and the normal thing would be to do is take it and put it there? How do we reach that awareness where someone's going to say, "Oh, hold on, we should do it a different way"?
Well, we do have a couple of we do have an ad, a bit of an ad campaign going on with that. We basically appeal to our residents to remember this environment, the reason you like living here, the climate, the natural beauty you see around you. We're responsible. All of us are responsible for protecting that. And you protect that by one way. One of the things you do is dispose of things properly. That includes home chemicals.
So in the home chemicals, if they get to your facility, and they have to take it there, what happens to them over there?
When they get there, they store them securely, and then 2 things can happen. If you actually have like a nearly full bottle of, let's say, pesticide, and it's in good shape, it's not old, and it's not the can isn't rusting if it's a metal can, or the plastic bottle isn't falling apart or whatever, they will actually make it available to other Miami-Dade County residents on a first come first served basis who wish to use that item. We call that the Chem Again program. If it's not usable, we have contractors that come and remove the stuff and they dispose of it properly.
So if somebody puts it into their garbage can, right, that's essentially they're polluting the land.
Essentially, yeah.
It just takes a little while to get there.
It'll reach, it'll pollute at some point.
So I used to love taking care of my yard. I stopped doing that a while ago. So I had all this equipment left over. And I wound up giving all it to our yard guy. You have to take all of it, not the stuff you want. You have to take everything, right? The old clippers, the old lawnmower, all this stuff, because I knew that I didn't want to dump it. And because we think it doesn't matter, but imagine that a couple 100,000 times a day. Yeah, throughout the county or throughout South Florida.
And drinking water, I used to work at water and sewer. Drinking water sources, like basically you step on the ground, that's the starting point, Biscayne Aquifer. It's a very shallow aquifer, and if you pour something into the ground, it's going to make it right into the drinking water.
And the county's made it a priority to try to keep our water clean, safe. I know there's plenty of discussions about slowly trying to eliminate septic tanks that are down here. I know that's a massive project. And the county, again, is working on keeping the bay cleaner. And not too long ago, as everybody saw, there's some people throwing, is it balloons?
I believe that it was a yacht, and they were having a party, and the people started popping the balloons, and the balloons just, popping the balloons. They weren't careful about where the balloons fell. They fell into I believe that's how it happened. And then they actually got arrested. Right.
Good. And the fish eat it, the birds eat it, the turtles eat it, the porpoises somehow get in there. And then we know on the beaches, for instance, if that plastic gets broken up a little small enough, the other critters will eat it, and then it blocks them up.
And it blocks them up, yeah. It causes all kinds of problems for them, digestive issues, other health issues.
So one of the big concerns nowadays is about how we use batteries. Everything's got a battery. Yes. And including the cars. It should be interesting to see what we do. I've never seen the battery, but it's probably half the size of this table. Right?
Probably. I've never seen a car battery myself, but I imagine they're kind of big.
And then,
well, I should say a car battery for a regular gasoline powered car. The battery's about the size of a box, but it's heavy because it's lead.
And the county has its first all electric garbage truck. And it just took delivery of a lot of buses on battery. But for the average homeowner, it's got flashlights galore, all the little different widgets, laptops, or whatever it is, and and phones. What should people do with those batteries?
Well, there's a couple of different things. The first one is if it's the typical standard alkaline or heavy duty, quote unquote, battery that you buy at the drugstore, AA, AAA, C, D, or 9 volt. Those, once they're used up, they're disposable. You can throw those in the garbage safely. They used to contain mercury. They stopped doing that in the mid 90s.
Right.
But if they're lithium, if they're rechargeable, if they're like those button batteries you have like hearing aids or like a lot of devices, smaller devices have, if they're like a laptop battery, a cell phone battery, those should be disposed of properly. You can take it to one of our home chemical collection centers, or check first. There are battery stores around. They may take them, but check with them first. Don't come there with a handful of these things and then they tell you no.
So for the uneducated person who would have a hard time remembering, other than going to the store, that would probably cover a lot of that. So somebody could collect all their batteries and then say at some point when they have a big bag full, say, okay, where am I going to take these?
They could take them to home chemical. Now, one piece of advice: when you store them, they're not working anymore, whatever, you store them, be careful of how you store them, because they can potentially cause a hazard. They can cause a fire. You don't want to mix them all up together.
Oh.
You kind of want to like maybe put them on. I would Google it. I know that you don't really kind of want to mix them up together. And like I said, if our home chemical collection centers are not convenient for you, check and see if there's a battery store or a retailer, a large retailer that might take them back. That way you don't have to keep them for a long time.
So again, as I mentioned before, on my lawn equipment, I gave it to our yard guy. But short of that, and let's say it's just some old engine somebody's got hanging around in your grandfather's shed, what should people do?
Well, gasoline for sure you can take to one of our centers. The engine itself, that's a good question. That's a good question. I'll have to look into that. The engine itself, like if you have an old lawnmower, what can you do with it? I believe you could put it in with a bulky waste pickup. However, you have to drain the fluids, the oil and the gasoline. And the oil and gasoline can be brought to our home chemical.
Part of that process is just be acutely aware of it, because people disposing of that improperly is like the guy that dumps the garbage outside on the street. Except for this is sort of like nobody's going to see it. I'm going to do it over here. But the reality is that all does add up. We know the little kids are watching us all the time. And yes. So if they see their dad, grandparents doing it, we know it's going to happen. I have this little habit. When I get within about 100 feet, 200 feet of my house, I undo my seatbelt. My grand says, Grandpa, why are you undoing your seatbelt? And I go, you're right. You are right. Put it back on. I'd be like, I don't know what the rush is. You mean that at half a second. But so we know that they're all watching.
But you know, the seatbelt thing is kind of funny, because I tell my son is the one that likes to pop his seatbelt early, and I'm the one I'm the old man. I don't take it. I can't leave without the seatbelt all the time, and I tell him all the time. Patton lost his life after World War II. General George Patton, the famous General Patton, in a car accident, in a slow-moving car. The car was moving very slow, like 10 or 15 miles something an hour, because no seatbelt. I think they had to stop suddenly, and he hit his head against a clock, and he ended up, that didn't kill him right away. I think he went into a coma and he died a couple days later. But yes, he died because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt in a slow-moving car.
Okay. My seatbelt's not going to come off anymore until it's in P and it's off. All right. All right. Again, so with all pesticides, all right. Same routine. Take it out of the home chemical.
And if it's in good shape, one of your fellow residents might be able to benefit from it.
So people can go onto the site of Miami-Dade Solid Waste and see a lot of the activities that the department does.
Yes.
So can we talk a little bit about recycling and about the green cards, the blue cards?
Sure. And we even have, you can go to miamidade.gov/solid waste to see all the different things we offer. But we do have, for example, if you're interested in recycling specifically, you can go to miamidade.gov/recycling. It'll take you to our recycling landing page. For home chemical collection, I think you could go with home chemical. I'm not 100% sure. But I know for recycling, you can do that. We offer a variety of services in addition to the home chemical collection center. We have the recycling. We have, you can order.
And there's some videos up there that people can watch.
Yes, we have videos on our website that show you the different services and different things we do. You mentioned carts. We have the blue carts for recycling, the green carts for waste. And if you need to have your cart repaired or replaced, the information's on our website. Basically, you can call 311, and we have a crew of people that are dedicated to just going down and replacing carts or repairing them. If they can repair it on the spot, they'll repair it. If it can't be repaired, they'll take the old cart and leave a new one, and they'll actually recycle the parts from the old cart. If, like for example, if the cart, the body's cracked, but the lid is in good shape and the wheels are in good shape, they'll take those off and they'll reuse them.
From a simplistic point, there are only like a couple parts to it. You know, the wheels and the rods.
The wheels, the handle, the body, the
and
lid,
it's like,
basically.
oh, I get it. All right. What part typically goes bad first?
I want to say the lid or the wheels, possibly. The body usually is okay, but I've seen some with cracked bodies. But a lot of times I've seen people that the lid is just completely missing or it's partially detached.
When people put out the garbage, it's the handle towards the house.
Yes, the handle towards the house.
And this far apart, folks.
And the wheels towards the house. And the flap opening out towards the street.
And if somebody hasn't ever watched how they do this, they pull up after the 20 stops on the street, they put down this arm, and then usually from a camera, and they grabs it, makes it tight, they bang it up against the thing, right? And they take the stuff out. But if people jam that in there, because they're trying to get everything under the cart, under the top, which breaks the top and jams up, so they have to keep banging it up there.
One of the bigger problems, situations you see that is with the cardboard boxes in the recycling cart. So you kind of have to make sure that they're small enough that they fit in there, don't get wedged in the cart, because if not, everything underneath them, you know.
And actually, you can put a whole lot more into the blue cart, but if you cut that up. So when the big Amazons of the world started shipping to people's homes, your business changed a lot.
Well, I mean, we still do what we do, but we have seen, especially with the pandemic, when that began and people started having more stuff shipped directly at home, we saw a lot more cardboard, yes.
So there are some things that do not get recycled. A lot of things don't, and that's because the recycler hasn't figured out how to resell that stuff. The thing that I think most people can relate to at the grocery stores, you can bring your bag in, you can bring a paper bag, you can bring a canvas bag, or you can use one of their plastic bags. Have you seen a reduction of plastic bags in your system?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if we've seen it. On the garbage side, they're not a problem for us, but they are a problem on the recycling side because they get jammed up in machinery. I would have to check.
So on those plastic bags, after you use them for whatever you're doing, they need to go into the
garbage,
into the green carts.
The green cart, exactly.
Right, where it gets either incinerated or taken to
the landfill. It won't. If it's put in the recycling, what happens is the machinery and recycling that they use to sort out a lot of the items, it gets wrapped up in the wheels, and they get so many of those, and they get so wrapped up in it that they actually have to stop the equipment every few hours, dig out all the bags that got jammed up, and then start again, and then a couple of hours later, same thing.
So we know the county just passed an ordinance that will allow accessory dwelling units, ADUs, to go into single-family homes in the backyard. How does the solid waste catch up with that possibility that in a home that used to be this much is now going to be this much times 300,000 homes? I don't know when that would take place, but years and years and years away. Is there any thought about that process yet?
That is a good question that I would have to ask with our planning people. We do have people that are focused on planning. What you have is the people have been doing that for years. I mean, everybody knows about efficiencies. And they've been doing that here in Miami-Dade County for a long time, for decades even. Right. Now they're trying to, allow a mechanism for it to be legal. That would require, of course, part of it would require getting a business license or local business tax, or I don't know exactly what it's called. You have to pay on an annual basis. The persons who do that, of course, it's declared, and then we're aware of it. The ones that don't do it declared, that do it undeclared, we're unaware of it. But yes, that would produce more waste. That's something that for sure we'll have to consider in our planning.
So one of the things is, as our homes get older down here, and we have a lot of old homes down here, people constantly are painting their homes, and sometimes they'll go over to Home Depot, and not anymore on Sunday afternoon. Jammed with people buying paint. I mean, it's just incredible how much paint these big stores sell. There's always paint left over, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So you got 3, 4, 1 gallon, maybe a 5-gallon thing that's got a little bit in each one. What should people do with those?
All right. Well, if the paint is still liquid and in good shape, you should try and see if you can donate it to an organization, a nonprofit that can use it. Or you can bring it to our our home chemical collection center. If it's in good shape, we can actually make it available to another county resident who's interested in it. If it's a small amount, if it's a small amount, the only time that we'll suggest you throw it out is basically open the lid for a few days and let it dry. When it's hard, solid, you can throw that in the garbage without any issue. But please, please do not throw, and definitely in recycling, definitely not. But do not throw it in the garbage, because what ends up happening when it's liquid, do not throw it in the garbage, because what ends up happening is the liquid, the trucks are not perfectly waterproof. It'll leak out of the truck onto the street, and I can't tell you how many times we get residents complain about that. I want us to, clean it up, but we weren't the ones that put the paint in the garbage. That's why we tell people if either donate it, bring it to our home chemical collection center. If you don't want to be bothered with it in a small enough amount, let it dry. And then when it's dry and it's solid, you can throw it in the garbage without any problems.
So, Frank, I know that we just got over the trauma of thinking we were going to get hit with a hurricane. But in another couple months, it comes up every year,
yes,
right?
Unfortunately, yes.
And people in South Florida have a lot of trees. And we enjoy them.
Yes.
We just, after we tore down a whole bunch of trees, of course, we planted it for the weekend, but it's going to take 10 years before it's a big tree. But the point is that people's trees they should look at whether to trim them, whether to take them back from their house, and if they're doing it themselves, or even with the landscaper, if they won't take it, they can arrange for the county to pick up. What is that called, and how can they do that?
So bulky pickup, we switched to a different system beginning last year, where you basically, instead of just set it out and they'll pick it up, anywhere from 8 to 10 days after you set it out. Now you look online, you can call 311 or you can look online. There's a pull-down menu, the dates that are available, and they will pick it up on that specific date. Do not set it out more than 3 days. You can set it out 3 days or less before your date, but do not set it out more than 3 days. You can get hit with a warning notice.
So this is a new calendar year, so people can have from their house 25-yard pickups.
2 25-yard pickups per year.
Just to give an idea to somebody, if you were going to say a 25-yard, is that one of those trucks or no?
That's about one of the trucks, not the giant trailers, but the smaller ones that have the.
Is that this big?
Hook.
Is it 15 by 20?
I think it's a little bit bigger than that.
Right.
It's yeah.
It's no extra charge. All right, 2 times a year.
If you're our customer, you get it. The service is available. We recommend now might be a good time to think about doing it, because when hurricane season starts, you tend to see an increase and then there are fewer appointments available. But beyond that, also, is if there's a hurricane warning or watch announced, everybody suddenly wants to do this, and we're sorry, but the appointments that they're booked, and
including the landscapers and the tree guys. Listen, we are booked up. We can't come out to your house. And it'll be a week or 2 or 5, whatever it is. And then, of course, the prices go up. So right now is a really good time. It's still a little cool. And we have spring it's springing or sprung, right? And so when we know this is a good time, we know that our neighbor has, a 50-foot tree. We make sure that whatever we can get to, I'm pointing it out up there, that we trim that, all right? And I know the guy said, just trim it right back, because I don't want it to fall on the fence and hit the house. And this is a really good time to do that. So let's talk about composting. How does that work?
Home composting, basically where you take waste that is, biodegradable, for lack of a better word. You can't, for example, take aluminum cans and compost them, but food waste, yard waste, things like that, and actually make a soil conditioner. We won't quite call it fertilizer, because it's not quite that, but it actually it basically makes a material that you can use to enrich the soil in your garden. We do not do that per se. What we do is we work with the Agriculture Extension Office, the University of Florida IFAS, and they have workshops. We actually list them on our website, by the way. They have workshops that are free to the public for the most part. Every once in a while, they'll do one that's paid in person. These are virtual, and when you complete it, you get a voucher that allows you to. This is where we come in. You complete the workshop, you get a voucher, and with that, you're supposed to take like a little quiz or something. When you're done with the quiz online, you get the voucher. With that voucher, you can come to one of our home, the West State, I believe, Home Collection Center, and pick up a free composting bin.
What a great lesson for a little child or grandchild, you know, to be able to do that and see mom and dad do that. And we live in horse country, so we feed some of our little critters. And to watch the cycle of life, first it was the kitty cat, and then it was the toads, and then it was the pigeons, chickens, the hawk to eat the chickens, and then it was other cats, and then it was the dog, then it was the peacocks. So we no longer feed the outside cats. But we showed our kids, this is what happens, the cycle of life. We had some friends that put together, made out of concrete blocks. They started composting. There's a way to do it, and it's all online. You put a fence around it to stop the other critters from getting in there. But it's a great lesson about how to recycle that long before, instead of just throwing it out. My wife likes bananas that are really overripe. She uses it like peanut butter. I said, don't you want me to do that? No, look. And she puts it on there. And it's like, okay, everybody's got their own way, you know, to do that. So right now, does the county have any plans to introduce more of recycling and home chemical programs to elementary school kids?
We do go into schools, and we're looking to go into schools as much as possible. There's some limitations. You know, during the school year, of course, they're kind of busy with their own curriculum and stuff like that. Yeah, we get invited. We definitely will go and talk about it.
Jean Marie Massey, she's in charge of recycling. Yes. I think she's 5 foot, maybe. And she's just this bundle of energy. She brings in all the stuff, and yes, she shows this is good, and this is good, this is dope. And so she's like perfect, you know, for that. So, Jean Marie, go ahead and do it. All right. So
I think she's going to be on in a few weeks.
Yes. And next, and soon we're going to have Mosquito Guys back. Dr. Peachy was here last week, and he showed us some of the mosquitoes, larvae. Under a microscope. It was on the screen. It was really extraordinary. Really liked it. Right? He promised he wasn't going to let any of the critters out. And Michael Moot, who's in charge of public information, I think, for that department, very, very effective. And when he was here last year, he brought a clear plastic bin filled, about this big, with mosquitoes. I said, nah, are you really going to do it? He puts his hand inside. His hand turned from white to black in about 5 minutes. So does it?
I still remember the old, back in the 70s, to show you how old I am, the repellent commercials where they would stick their arm in one of those things and you'd see the mosquitoes, and then they'd spray the repellent, stick the arm, no mosquitoes.
So just so people understand the breadth of the Miami-Dade Solid Waste Department's garbage trucks, how many homes do you service every week?
We serve 350,000 homes approximately twice a week. Monday and Thursday, one group, and then the other half we do Tuesday and Friday. The trucks individually, they have their routes are approximately 1,100 homes.
So you do 750,000 stops, residents a week. Most have one can.
Most have the one cart, yes.
Okay, except for a few more. All right, and that's really a lot of people. And you have a lot of these garbage trucks, and you have the brand new one, 100% electric,
yes.
Which is really a phenomenal vehicle. When they turned it on, I couldn't hear it. All right, it's like,
it's on?
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. It's on, yeah, it's on. And they do about 1,000 a day plus. When it's about halfway through, they bring it to the nearest place where it gets offloaded and reloaded. And right now, is the department looking for any drivers?
At the moment, I don't know for sure if we have an opening now. I know in general we're always looking for drivers, but we make the announcements every so often. Always good to check anyway. If you're interested, miamidade.gov/jobs. The starting pay for drivers, for garbage truck drivers, waste truck drivers as we call them, close to 40,000. I think it might be a little bit over that. If I recall correctly from the last time. I should have checked before I came here to see if there are actual openings this week, because it's on a week-to-week basis. But yeah, we're always looking for drivers, and we announce it on the county's website, miamidade.gov/jobs.
When did the county go from the guys that are on the back of the trucks and by hand? When did that phase out? More or
That
less.
happened before I came on board, so like the 2000s, I think, at some point.
It's
during the
amazing that men
2000s.
and women have the strength and the endurance to do that, right? Don't mess with these garbage truck drivers. Do not mess with them. Because you watch them, and it's incredible. And I see Andy Mayberry right now. I sort of see that because I grew up with that. Yay, you know, and to be able to do this. So now it's one person per truck, and they have the arm that picks it up, puts it in there. They take it to a location where it gets offloaded, then they go back out again.
Yes.
Your drivers work 4 days or 5 days?
They work 4 days. They're on what we call 4x10 schedule.
Right.
So they get 3 days off every week.
Super. Frank
Plus all the
Calderon.
pay and benefits.
Frank Calderon. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
And folks, I'm looking at the camera right over there. Folks, thanks for joining us.